Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for this first research webinar of Dev Connect. I have a few housekeeping points, and then we can start with the presentation. So just a quick update from our side. We are still accepting submissions to present. You can find the submission form on our website. You can use the same form to join our mentoring program. So if your paper is not quite ready yet to be presented, we are happy to match you to an expert in the field. And I also want to mention that in the form, you can also suggest potential discussant or mentor that you want to be connected to, and we will try our best to connect you. So feel free to use the form to make these suggestions. I will also like to announce our next webinar, which is going to be on the 20th of January 2026. And this is going to be a webinar where we have invited 4 editors, and we will be discussing tips on how to publish and get their experience and expertise on this. So please join us, and again, you will have to register for this event as well. So now, very happy to start. I would like to thank our participants, the presenters, and the discussants that are joining us today. So I'm very happy to present the first 2 presentations. The first one is by Zubaria Andlib from the Federal Urdu University of Arts, Science and Technology. And the second presentation will be by Pradeep Kumar Choudhury from Jawaharlal Nehru University. And both presentations will talk about different aspects of education, social media, young, and their impact on the young. And we'll also like to thank our discussants, Hugues Champeaux from the Université Monnet, Etienne, John Egyir from the Universitat de Barcelona, and Nicolas Pistolesi from the Université de Nantes. And I will leave the rules up here. We're going to start with 2 presentations, one after the other, followed by 15-20 minute discussion. And then we will open up the floor for questions from the audience. Feel free to post your question in the chat or to raise your hand, and then we will invite you to ask your question. And without further ado, let's start with the first presentation by Zubaria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Stefania, for inviting me to present my work at this prestigious forum. So today I'm going to talk about the impact of social media use on mental health among Pakistani youth. So first, I would like to present few interesting facts and figures associated with the social media use. Globally, there are 5.24 billion social media users, making 63.9% of the world's population, with annual growth rate of 4.1%. Average time spent on social media is 2 hours and 21 minutes daily, and overall people spend over 14.5 billion hours per day on social media, nearly 1.7 million years of time. Talking about Pakistan, 71.7 million social media users, comprising 70% males and 30% females, approximately 31.5% of the total population, large share likely, and as expected among youth aged 18 to 24 years. No doubt, social media provides immense opportunities to everyone. It connects people, ideas, enhances learning, collaboration, innovation, and impact across all spheres of life. But it is not devoid of risks as well, as empirical research links excessive use of social media to higher incidence of depression and anxiety, sleep disruption, and cognitive functioning, with downstream effect on productivity, particularly among youth. A survey was conducted in 2003 by Gallup Pakistan, demonstrated that 62% of young participants experience anxiety from social media, and unrealistic lifestyle and cyber bullying are two very important reasons. Based upon previously mentioned facts and figures, we have developed our research question, that is, does limiting social media use to 2 hours a day lead to improvements in mental health outcomes? And the objective of the study is to examine the impact of excessive use of social media on the mental health outcomes of young adults in a developing economy by using a randomized controlled trial. The present RCT assigns participants either to a treatment group limiting social media use to 2 hours daily, or a control group who follow the usual pattern of social media use. Compliance is tracked through a dual approach, smartphone monitoring apps, and self-reported usage diaries. Weekly SMS prompts and check-in calls reinforce adherence, address technical barriers, and participants' motivation. Each participant received 2 SMS reminders through WhatsApp or mobile SMS per week, 8 in total, and these messages were delivered at 9 a.m. on Mondays to encourage planning at the start of the week, and 5 p.m. on Fridays to address heightened weekend usage. SMS prompts were concise and motivational. Towards the 2 hours daily cap and promote self-regulation. One check-in call per week on Wednesday between 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Of total 4 calls in a week. And these calls allowed the research team to troubleshoot technical issues with monitoring apps, discuss challenges with usage reduction, and sustain motivation. A typical call included 3 components, namely reflection, problem solving, and encouragement. In order to avoid any systematic, in order to avoid any systematic biasness, our call list is randomized within strata, that is gender into baseline use. We have documented a few very important things like log reach status, attempts, call start and end time, app status, install permission, diary submitted, yes or no, number of days less than 2 hours in past week, and any other important information. We have also offered quick tech quick fix like permission, battery optimization for these apps, and schedule any tech call back if the call duration is greater than 5 minutes. We mostly used Urdu language, first names only, no sensitive content, secure storage of call logs, and research team reviews 5 to 10% calls weekly, and feedback was given to enumerators. Our key performance indicators are reach rate data that was greater than is equal to 90%, and median attempts were less than is equal to 2%, and mean duration of the call was 3 to 4 minutes, and we have observed that unresolved technical issues decreased over weeks. On average, baseline usage was 5.76 hours per day in both groups. However, after intervention, treatment group decreased, reduced social media usage to 2.10 hours per day, and control group stayed stable at 5.75 hours per day. And 72% of treatment participants stayed less than is equal to 2 hours per day, whereas 65% compiled for um, greater than is equal to 75% of studies days. 28% exceeded the limit occasionally, mostly on weekends and during holidays, and non-compliance not linked to baseline demographic or mental health. Prior literature demonstrates both positive aspects of social media use, such as connections, collaborations, and knowledge, and negative outcomes such as depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem from excessive social media use. Much of the existing work relies on self-reported cross-sectional designs, which limit causal inference and robustness. However, recent advances in and quasi-experimental studies that identify stronger causal effects but remain concentrated in developed economies, mostly Western economies. The study's value addition is its randomized control trial in context of a developing economy, producing policy-relevant causal evidence on how regulated social media use shapes youth mental health, a dimension largely ignored in existing literature. We have recruited 400 participants through online advertisements, partnerships with the educational institutions, and outreach through youth organizations in Islamabad. We have made sure the representation across gender, socioeconomic, and regional backgrounds, whereas eligibility criteria required participation on three basic things, including actively use social media on a daily basis, on a smartphone compatible with monitoring applications, and provide informed consent. Individuals with pre-existing severe mental health disorders requiring clinical intervention were excluded from the experiment. Randomization was conducted at the individual level after completion of the baseline survey. Assignment used a computer-generated random number sequence with allocation concealment. And to improve covariate balance, randomization was stratified by gender and baseline social media use, that is above or below the simple median. Within each stratum, we employed block randomization to maintain one-to-one allocation to treatment and control groups. This procedure preserved balance both overall and within key subgroups. So this picture actually showing the sample size. The study's primary outcome is the causal effect of regulated social media use on young adults' mental health, with emphasis on depression, anxiety, self-esteem, and stress. Depression is assessed using the PHQ-9, a 9-item DSM-aligned scale widely validated for tracking both severity and change over time. Ranges from 0 to 27, and higher score indicates severity. Anxiety is measured with the GAD-7, a 7-item instrument where high score indicates clinically significant symptoms warranting further evaluation. Whereas self-esteem is evaluated through the Rosenberg self-esteem scale, a 10-item global measure of self-worth, where scores below 15 reflects low self-esteem. Stress is captured through the perceived stress level, a 10-item measures of perceived overload and unpredictability, offering robust validity across diverse population, and it ranges from 0 to 40, and higher score indicates a severity. Sleep quality is assessed using the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, a widely validated tool that measures sleep duration, quality, and disturbances over the past month, with the higher score indicating poor sleep. And lastly, overall well-being is evaluated through the WHO-5 well-being index of 5 items, a self-reported scale that measures mood and life satisfaction, standardized to a 0 to 100 score, where higher value indicates better well-being. So this graph is showing the demographic characteristics of both groups, and we could see that mean age is 20 years and the mean education is 4 years, and most of the respondents are coming from Punjab province, and we have almost 50% population from rural and urban areas, and 50% respondents are males and 49% respondents are females. And we could be able to find it out that Instagram and TikToks are two most favorite apps among our respondents, participants. And these are the baseline mental health scales of two groups, which are almost equal, and it helps us to conduct our experiment. These are the results, and first we will talk about depression. At baseline, we see no significant differences between two groups. However, after 3 months follow-up, depression was significantly lower in treatment group. Our results are supported from the previous literature, that is excessive social media use undermines mood and contributes to depression by fostering rumination on loneliness, triggering traumas through active passive exposure to distressing content, and intensifying fear of missing out, all of which impairs psychological resilience. Next is anxiety. Again, at baseline, anxiety scores were similar across two arms, but at post-intervention and after 3 months follow-up, we could be able to see a favorable situation. And again, our results are supported from the previous literature, and that is excessive social media use has been shown to heighten anxiety by amplifying upward social comparison, fostering fear of missing out, disrupting sleep, and displacing activities, all of which contribute to poor effective regulation. Next is self-esteem. And again, we could be able to see a significant improvement in self-esteem after after regulated use of social media. And again, our results are supported from the previous literature that shows that excessive engagement with social media foster upward social comparison that undermines self-esteem, particularly among young adults. Next is perceived stress scale, and we could be able to find it out from the table that at baseline stress levels were balanced across two groups, but post-intervention and at follow-up situation is much better. And again, our results were supported from the previous literature that temporarily withdrawal from social media platform improves subjective well-being, plausibly reflecting reduction in stress and related affective burdens. We have also seen the impact of social media, excessive social media use and regulated social media use on sleep quality index, and we could be able to find it out that at baseline no difference in sleep quality. But in post-intervention treatment, participants reported substantially better sleep. At follow-up, improvement persisted with a 3.6 point advantage. Improvement in PSQI score highlight better sleep quality. Recent studies show that social media use for long hours in evening delays bedtime and shortens sleep. Better sleep plausibly mediate reduction in depression and anxiety consistent with longitudinal evidence linking screen use that leads to poor sleep disruption that leads to poor moods and productivity. Lastly, we have seen the impact of social media on overall well-being and at baseline. Um, uh, Pattern were similar between two groups, but in post-intervention, the treatment arm showed a sharp increase in well-being. With follow-up, this positive effect was sustained with a 10-point gain. Limiting use to 2 hours likely disrupt upward comparison cycle, which prior study show undermines self-esteem and increase negative effect. Unlike most prior study that rely on cross-sectional or correlational data, this trial applies a randomized control design in a developing economy context, filling an essential gap in global evidence. Findings suggest that low-cost behavioral intervention can yield large and lasting improvement in youth mental health. This directly informs policymakers in low and middle income countries where costly clinical interventions are less visible. Global significance with South Asia, home to nearly a million social media users, the result have scalable implications far beyond Pakistan, challenging global narratives shaped primarily by Western data. This RCT provides the first rigorous evidence from a developing country perspective that regulating social media use can causally improve depression, anxiety, stress, and well-being, setting a new benchmark in digital mental um, health well-being research. Obviously, our study has few strengths and have strengths and few limitations. Like we have used validated mental health scales, participants diversity, strong internal and external validity, a simple scalable intervention that is 2 hours daily limit with clear adherence protocol and active retention strategies through text and calls. However, limitations include reliance on self-reported measures, a relatively short 3 months follow-up, and risk of non-compliance may affect accuracy and the ability to assess long-term effects. Based on our results, we have policy implications. It is essential to integrate digital mental well-being into youth health programs and policies. It is important to offer free counseling at the school, college, and university level to close the digital well-being gap, specifically among youth and low-income groups. It is again important to focus on national level initiative to limit excessive screen time among young adults. We can follow the examples from Japan and quite recently from Australia. It is again important to focus and conduct more longitudinal studies to track the mental health impacts of social media and evaluate the effectiveness of interventions. It is again important to provide community-based alternatives like cultural, sports, volunteer programs to reduce reliance on digital intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zubaria. A very interesting presentation. So let's keep all the questions for after the second presentation. So thank you again. So Pradeep, now the floor is yours, 20 minutes, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope I'm audible and my slides are visible.
Yes, all work. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Stefania and the team for giving me this opportunity to share my work in this important platform, DevConnect, which is growing and hopefully it will grow. And we all will contribute to that. Thank you for this. I think what I start by saying that the technology human interaction is at the peak now, globally. Everywhere we see that there is some set of interactions with technology and the human being. And an important platform for this interaction is teaching learning. And that's the classroom, both in classroom and outside the classroom. Many of us who are present here or even not present here, having a kid who is going to school or college, often we are concerned about the use of mobiles or even any gadgets. And that actually gives us a story that what is happening in this, why we are so skeptical at some point of time, particularly the parents, in the use of phones. I have a son who is 12 years old, and when he uses the mobile, I am also a little concerned about what actually he is doing and all. And it becomes difficult for many parents, particularly the illiterate one and also from the marginalized groups, to observe what a student or a child is doing with his gadgets or her gadgets. That's an important concern, and it is a growing concern for many of us. And that's an important issue that we are talking today. Let me get into the idea, and the topic that I'm presenting here is removing phones from classrooms improves academic performance. And this work with my colleagues, two of my colleagues, Alf Sungu from UPenn and Andreas from University of Copenhagen. Let me get into the motivation of the study. This figure, which comes from World Development Report 2018, tells a very interesting story, because this is saying the use of ICT on students' learning, which is often being discussed in the policy domain, also in research and academia, that clearly tells that it's not giving a conclusive story to us. If you see this, the intervention that happens using software and also the interventions that happens with hardware, many RCTs are being done. In some cases, we give videos, teaching learning exercises and all. In hardware, we give some laptops and all that. In all the cases, we are not very sure how it is impacting, because in some studies, it impacts negatively. Some studies have no impact, and some studies have positive effect. So it is no negative effect, no effect, positive effect. And this is a very mixed result. So that's very, very clear. And it's also very context specific. In some countries, it is positive, some countries it is negative. In some, even within the country at regional level also, it varies. So there is not a very clear picture on this. And that's an important point for examining the question that we examine in this study. Also, if you see this, as I was saying a little ago, allowing mobile phones in educational space, particularly, this is a big confusion, a big confusion among parents, among teachers, among students. I would say among larger community. Why I say this is a confusion? Because none of us know that how it impacts, whether it impacts positively, negatively, as I said. If you see this Global Education Monitoring Report 2022, what it is saying? It is saying globally, 1 in 7 countries now have phone bans in school, either as a law or policy plan, strategy, or guidelines. If you see this figure very clearly, you will see it varies extensively regionally. And there is a world figure also, which is highlighted, also by income groups among countries. So what I'm trying to say here, that some countries are trying to ban phones in schools, some are trying to ban even in colleges, universities. Now in the case of Australia, also the case is like they are banning the students or the children in the age group of maybe up to 16, the social media use. So there are different stories that are coming up from different countries globally. And this is the high time that we examine this, how actually we are dealing with this problem. And the problem is becoming further complex with the use of artificial intelligence, AI, Gen AI. And there are several other important platforms are coming up. And in that context, almost entire community, including parents, teachers, and students, are getting confused. The main motivations, therefore, in this study is that phone ban policies that I said many countries are adopting aim to protect students from the negative academic and social consequences. Nobody is worried when students are using it effectively and they are getting the gains, but there are also negative consequences, both academically and socially. It is very important that we should be careful on that. And in some cases, the policies are largely focusing on in-class device use, because there the students actually being distracted a lot. But whatever the policy that we see in this domain, that are actually, or the kind of evidences that we see, they are not evidence-based, morely, they are policy. So that's the reason I said policy ran ahead of evidence. So we need more evidence to back the policies. That's the point. Despite the surge in policy measures that I am speaking on, there is a marked absence of large-scale experimental evidence that evaluates the broader impacts of mobile device use on student learning, both in the school education and also at the higher education. How actually the technology impacting students' cognitive skills, learning, their attention span, and many more. That is, I think the information on that is very skewed, particularly from the experimental settings. Therefore, what we did in this paper, we did a randomized control trial involving 10 higher education institutions in Odisha, which is an eastern state of India, to assess how mobile phone use or ban affect the students and classroom dynamics. What are the key research questions that we got into? What is the impact of phone-free classrooms in students' learning outcomes? How do students perceive the ban? And what are the other externalities? For example, well-being, digital use, and academic motivation. How do the ban impact classroom dynamics? That is the most important thing that actually we observed, or we included in this study. What is the trials design? In the beginning, we approached more than 30 higher education institutions, and 25 of them came ahead. And in between, some of them did not actually follow the procedure. In the beginning, when we went for seeing their colleges infrastructure and all, we rejected a few, and finally 10 colleges were included in the experiment. Let me explain the trials design in a few minutes. This trial design was administered on spring 2024 on college-going students. They are undergrad students studying in different disciplines, starting from language, humanities, science, both STEM and non-STEM courses. And this randomization took place at the school, that is the college, we call it college. Department in Odisha, in India we call college, which is after the 12th grade, and department and also at the grade level. Plus, to what we did, let me explain this carefully, that we took wooden boxes, and almost, this is more than 1,000 wooden boxes, and we placed them in the classroom. Mostly hung them on the wall, and we asked the ban group or the treatment group to keep their mobiles to that box before starting their class. And they did this for 1 semester continuously. And the other group, what they did, they were as usual, business as usual. That means they carried their mobile to the classroom. So there are two groups. One carried their mobile to the classroom. The other group, they kept their mobile in the phone boxes. And I'm just showing you the phone boxes that we designed. This is a sample phone box. There are many in one college. So this is the phone box that is being placed in the classroom. And students kept their mobiles, smartphones in the phone box, as you can see, before entering into the class. What is the sample size? Student cohorts were randomly assigned at the department grade level, as I was saying, to either a mandatory in-class phone collection, requiring students to deposit their devices at the start of each lecture for 1 semester, or as I was saying, it is a business as usual control, where phone use remained unrestricted. So this is a very clear case that you are allowed to take the mobile to the classroom and you are not allowed to take the mobile to the classroom. So these are the two groups. And the sample size was around 17,000, which is a huge sample that we did. 742 teachers. Average age for students were 19.4 because they were undergrad students, young, youth. And the age range differs from 16 to 22%. And 35.5% were female students. The model description, what we did, we estimate the following linear regression model to estimate the impact of random assignment to a phone ban policy on students' grade, where GPA IT denotes the grade point average of student I in term T. Phone ban IT is an indicator equal to 1 if the student in the classroom kept phone in trial box and 0 otherwise. GPA T minus 1 is the lagged GPA, that is grade point average. And the notation measures the persistence in academic achievement. If you see this, the first preliminary, I would say the first starting result, phone bans improve grades. That's the key message that we are trying to give. The overall effect clearly says that the students who did not carry their mobile to the classroom, there the GPA, grade point average, improved. The precise estimation clearly says this was improved by 0.086 standard deviation. That is the average increase of GPA. And if you see the variations, you can clearly find out the students who were like not performing earlier, like the low GPA students, the impact was higher for them. The impact was also higher for first year students because we took 3 years of students, first year, second year, or third year, because undergrad program here are 3 years mostly. And the students who were in non-STEM courses, there the effect was higher in comparison to the STEM courses, students from STEM courses. We checked the robustness here, ban impact on average grades, and we found we used the prior GPA fixed effect, then also the first year student, second year student, third year student, STEM field, non-STEM field. So the first result phone ban is 0.086 that I was saying that an average increase of 0.086 standard deviation for this. And also it worked differently for different groups, as I was saying. This is an interesting because the impact of this phone ban on students' academic performance was higher among low performers. You can see very clearly. The blue one is phone ban and the dashed one is no phone ban. And the student, you can see in the x-axis grades rank prior to experiment. The students whose grades rank was lower prior to the experiments, for them, actually the impact was higher. That is very, very clear. And we have examined several interesting mechanisms to it in the paper. This is another interesting thing. Besides this academic performance, we also looked at how students experienced this phone ban. So what we did random checks in the classroom, because that we call the classroom spot checkness. That we did using arrays, and they did it by looking at them without disturbing the class, by looking through windows and also little opening of the doors and all that. So they did spot checks of the students' behavior in class, which was not known to the teacher and students. So when we analyzed that, and we found clearly that in fewer instances of students, we find fewer instances of students cheating there in the class, or they are talking with each other. Also, we found less disruptive behaviors along with reduced phone usage and increased engagement among teachers in phone ban classrooms by teacher, because teachers also used very less phones because the students are not using, suggesting a classroom environment more conducive to learning. And this is, we found, as an important mechanism that actually worked in improving students' academic performance through GPA. So that's an important mechanism that we found. And we have also measured some other interesting facts. What we did, we've also looked at the results of policy preferences and attitudes of the students. In the beginning, we found there was a fear of missing out of students when we took, like they started keeping their mobile in the phone boxes. But as we go ahead, students themselves started supporting the phone ban. So that's the reason you will find a significant impact, or sorry, statistically significant result of supports phone bans. Students themselves started supporting phone bans. So that's an important point that we found. Similarly, if you see the panel B that we estimated, digitally pertinent outcomes. So in the beginning, as I was saying, there was a fear of missing out index with the phone ban group, but it actually decayed over time. So that's the point that I got, and they themselves supported, as I was saying. So FOMO concept was there, but it actually decayed over time. There was a perceived educational experience that we did not find statistically significant in sense of perceived educational experience, in the sense we also did checking with the students in pre and post level analysis, and there also we found the students' opinion about whether it impacts on their educational experiences and all, but we did not find any significant results on this. We also examined the student ban impact on course level grades, and there also we found phone ban in different courses, and there we also found the positive and statistically significant result 0.061, that is 0.061 standard deviation increase at the level of course grades of different at the course level, because we had many courses. So the other important thing that we checked is about the attendance effect of phone ban. So we did not, surprisingly, we did not find any impact of phone ban on attendance of the students, because we are thinking that once you ask the students to keep their mobile phone in the phone boxes, so it is likely that they will be bunking the class, they are not coming into the classroom, but that did not happen. We did not find a conclusive result in this, as the result was not statistically significant. We also did balancing checks of phone ban policy. In the balancing check, the main idea was to see whether our experiment was like how effectively our intervention was working in that context. So that's the reason we did this balancing check. And we find no statistical significant differences in baseline GPA between groups. So the point estimates are small in magnitude and consistently fall well within the standard error bounds, as you can see in the results. This suggests that students in treated and control cohorts were academically comparable prior to the policy intervention that we did. This is the phone ban policy, supporting the internal validity of our subsequent causal analysis that we did. So very clearly, we found that it's not the prior policies or prior settings that were there in the classroom that impacted, no. And this is an important analysis that we did to validate our results internally. That is internal validation. And there we found very clearly that the ban that we practiced, that actually improved the students' academic performance in terms of GPA. That's the point that I was trying to. Let me get into the conclusion. And I must say now, this is a work in progress, and your input will definitely work for us. And this paper is already available in PDF format in website. So you can find it very easily, that, or I can share the link in the Q&A session if it comes up. So you can Google it and then find it in the full paper, which is a little lengthy, and you will get many interesting ideas that we have discussed there. Many things, many more things than what I said in this 20 minutes time. So that's the point. Let me get into the major conclusions that we are. As I said in the beginning, many are concerned about this idea, so it's important to see it. I should say this is a high time that we should examine whether giving a mobile to the students or not, both at the school and higher education. So in that context, our finding or our analysis, our study very clearly say that phone ban improves grades in higher education institutions in India. And more clearly and more importantly, this gain that we are getting is higher for struggling students. Struggling in the sense they are struggling both academically and also socially and economically. So students who come from marginalized sections of the society, for example, among low caste groups, in India there is a caste division, that is a social category. And also the women students from low income settings or poor resource settings, they are the ones who are benefiting a lot from the phone ban in classroom. And an important channel that again I repeat for this is less distraction in the classroom. And in the discussion we have clearly pointed out that the students who benefited from this phone ban, particularly the struggling students or the marginalized students, they rely a lot on classrooms, the classroom teaching from teachers. So when they actually get distracted, maybe by themselves or by their classmates, because when a student is sitting beside you and using the phone often, in that context, you are also disturbed. So when they are disturbed or distracted in the classroom, their learning outcome actually hampers a lot, being hampered a lot. So in that context, we found that struggling student benefits the most. And these are the students often do not have resources to get into personal coachings, or let's say we call it private tuitions. So they more rely on classroom teachings from teachers. So that is one of the important mechanisms we are thinking. Now we have outlined in the paper. So policy support increases with experiencing the ban. So that also, because there are many policies that is coming up, as I said in the beginning. And now more and more countries, more and more states within the country are actually joining this initiative, that banning phone in the classroom, particularly in the classroom, and sometimes also banning in the household level, family level. For example, the social media ban by Australia. So in this context, and this is not only the case of developed country or developing country, it is happening worldwide. Though the results are clearly coming from developed countries more, because we do lots of experiments there, and often we don't do many experiments in developing settings because of the resource constraint by researchers. But the studies whatever the studies that are coming from low resource country contexts, they are also telling more or less similar story. No detectable negative externalities on other important outcomes that we found.
Thank you, Pradeep.
Classroom dynamics appear
yes.
healthier. So that is what. Thank you again for this opportunity. And I will conclude here, and I will be happy to get questions, if any, from the audience. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pradeep and Zubaria. Very, very interesting presentation. I love how they complement each other, not just looking at different way of reducing access to social media, but different way in which social media affect young people. So thank you very much for this. So I don't want to take more time away from our discussion. So please, all of those who have questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A sessions. We will try to go over them after the discussion. So please take the time now to type your question or already your hand if you want to intervene after the discussion. So I will now start with the discussion about the first paper. So I would like to ask discussant, perhaps in order that we have here to give a few comments about the paper. So I will start with Hugues. If you have a few comments about.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
With the first paper, I would like to say that I'm a big fan of the title, like Breaking the Scroll, very appealing title, and I'm sure that we'll find the audience you deserve because the paper is very nice and your findings very, very good. I have a few comments that I will pick. The first is you say that the intervention is used to limitate the access to the social media at 2 hours a day, and I would like to know maybe if you give us more explanation why 2 hours a day is important, is used as a threshold. Maybe it's used because it's acceptable for people, so it's more realistic if you want to make a design or for a scale up. But also maybe we can expect more psychological damage after 2 hours. So it's good to know why this threshold have been designed and have been chosen. And second, I have some issue that because you are limiting the access to social media on the phone, but maybe people can have also access to other devices like a tablet or computer. So maybe it's good also to provide at least some discussion on the fact that maybe they will also limit the access on other devices and not only on the phone, because I guess it's also important to believe that the intervention could target not only the use on other devices. And I would like to know if you provided or maybe you try some heterogeneity analysis, mostly like dividing between an effect on males or on females, because we know that maybe the use of social media is very different depending on gender. And also in terms of mental issues, we know that men are suffering much more of psychological disease. So I guess it's very important to know if maybe we have some heterogeneous effect depending on gender, because there is also a different of use and different of type of psychological disease or mental stress between men and women. And finally, I will stop on that. I was quite surprised on the fact that maybe you find a kind of dynamic effect that the follow-up survey after 3 months show that the effect is much more higher, like for example in the well-being. Just after the intervention, we find an effect of 2%, and after 3 months, it's an effect of 10%. So it's a huge effect of like long-lasting effects, but the intervention stopped 3 months before. So I would like to know if maybe you have an explanation why there is this kind of dynamic effect, which is quite surprising in such a context. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hugh. Lots of useful comments. Maybe now I move to John.
Yeah.
Hi, John.
Sorry. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Zubaria. I think your presentation was quite interesting, and I also enjoyed reading the paper. So I think perhaps I will follow up after the seminar with my comment, just for you to go through maybe those that are relevant. You can just take a look at them. But I have few points. One on the intervention itself. So just to follow up with what Hugues also mentioned, in terms of clarification, I don't know whether you could clarify whether the 2-hour daily limit was something that was standardized across all the youth or the individuals, or participants could choose which hours to avoid the social media use. Okay, so that's my first comment. And then in terms of the usage limit again, I also wanted to know, because in the paper, I did not see any kind of information on the occupation status of these individuals, whether they are students or whether they work in a particular industry, which takes a lot of time. So perhaps my thought is that maybe the period where they kind of limit the social media use coincide with their free time. Okay, so maybe you also have to provide more information on this as well. But my main point are kind of more methodological. So one has to do with the outcomes. So the current analysis, per my understanding, you are using the total scores or the aggregate scores as outcomes. Okay, but I wanted to know if you could comment on whether relying on this aggregate score may introduce some noise, okay, in the outcome, given that some of these measures may be imperfect proxies for underlying latent construct. So what I know a little bit in the literature, for example, on the perceived stress scale, is that this is a validated scale that has kind of a multiple underlying construct. So you could have perceived stress or perceived coping, right? So if you pull all these skills together to measure one particular construct, I think maybe there's something that we are missing here in terms of measurement error. So I don't know whether you have considered modeling the outcome using latent factor measurement approach or measurement system in order to account for this multiple construct within the scale, and also to improve the precision of the treatment effect you are estimating. Yeah, so that's my first major comment. My second major comment also has to do with the estimation analysis. So at some point of the paper, I also read that you made mention that you used the analysis of covariance, which is the ANCOVA framework. But I did not actually see any kind of a formal model specification provided in a paper. But I wanted to ask, when you provided the result for table 2, which is in the paper, the p-values, for example, you said the p-values are based on the ANCOVA. But I wanted to know whether when you estimate each model, do you control for the baseline outcome? Because the key aim of the ANCOVA framework is that you combine the principle of ANOVA and then regression in order to adjust for baseline differences, right? So if we're controlling for, if we're providing the p-value for the ANCOVA based on the ANCOVA, then probably you should also maybe specify maybe beneath the table that maybe, okay, each model control for the baseline outcome. But I did not see any information on that, but it will be helpful to also provide that information. Related to that, I was thinking that perhaps maybe in your table 2, instead of maybe using the simple mean differences to show the impact, perhaps you could directly report the result from the ANCOVA model, which kind of shows you this is the actual impact of the intervention, okay, for those who were limited in terms of 2 hours daily and those who were in the control, so that you can report that particular outcome, that particular coefficient, for us to know what is the magnitude or how that particular magnitude mean to us. yeah, so perhaps I'll stop here and then, yeah.
Thank you very much. I think we can move to the last discussion. Perhaps I ask you to just, if you have any additional comment to add, and then if you can then continue and provide some comments to Pradeep, and then we go back in reverse order. Just want to make sure that we collect enough comments for everybody, and then we have probably a few minutes for additional suggestion from the audience. Please. Nicolas, thank you.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so thank you very much for the presentation. I will be very short. Don't worry. So I enjoyed the paper. It's a nice, it's a very nice study. First comment I would like to say is that of course it's a very important topic in terms of public health, and it's very well defined in the paper. But as an economist, I would be interested in getting some economic justification of the why we want to look into that, at least in the introduction of the paper. So maybe that would be nice if you could introduce, I don't know, some figures or some statistics explaining why it's an important question for an economist, at least if you want to sell the paper to a journal in economics. I think it's important to do. Another comment I have is that the treatment that you study is a little bit more complex than just a 2 hours ban, since you introduce different type of mechanisms such as phone calls, SMS, and internet consumption tracking, I mean. And so at the end of the day, the results you get, it's a mix of all of these different treatments. And maybe either you make it clearer that your treatment is not just the 2 hours ban, or you have to find a way of measuring them independently, which I'm not sure we can do it here. So that's an important point. And the very last short comment is that maybe that would be very great if you could add at least a discussion of the mechanisms at play. Since you have large effects, we wonder why we have these results. Is it because we get more time, more free time, that their health gets much better? Is it because they get more real-world interactions or anything else? I don't know. So that would be important to discuss the potential mechanisms, even if you don't have clear empirical evidence on them. A discussion would be great. I'm going to stop here for this discussion.
Thank you very much. So I'll take it back to you, and if you can give some comments to Pradeep, and then we go in reverse order. Thank you.
Okay, great. So again, thanks for the paper. It was nice listening to your presentation and reading it. I liked it too. A first comment I have is that there is one result I was a little bit puzzled, is that you show that the grades improve, but if I'm right, the students, they don't report that they feel less distracted. The treated students, I mean. So these two things seems a little bit puzzling. I'm wondering how we can explain the difference between these two, or why is it the case? So a potential explanation would be that the students, they don't really realize how much time they were losing using their phone, or idea of what could explain that would be nice to say, to express. Another comment would be to say to wonder if they could just substitute the phone with something else, another electronic device, I don't know. So do we get access to laptops, to smartwatch, to tablets, or something else? Maybe you said so and I missed it, sorry. But so that would be important to know, that if they could substitute the phone for something else. And the very last comment is that that would be great if you could discuss a little bit external validity of the RCT. So again, comparing it with, let's say, studies on Western countries, for example, if there is something more or less like that in Western countries. And another dimension is what about younger children? Is there any evidence that we can have that these effects would be the same for younger children, since in terms of, let's say, public health this time, younger children is a big issue relative to the use of mobile phone. So that's it. I'm going to stop here.
Thank you very much. So John, quickly, thank you. Oh, we cannot hear you. Your mic.
All right, so thank you so much, Pradeep. I also enjoyed reading your paper. So I also have a few comments, and perhaps I will start with the intervention and also the treatment assignment. So my first point is basically clarification. So I don't know if you could clarify whether the phone used in the control group was something that was directly measured, monitored, or something that was simply assumed. Yeah. And also whether you think the estimate that you have, the effect that you have, are actually upper bound or lower bound, because my thought is that there should be some kind of a potential self-regulation, especially among the control students, even if they're asked to use the phone or continue to use the phone. And also, I think at some point of the paper, you also made mention that there are many classrooms where treatment groups and the control group share the same class. So there could be some kind of a possible spillover effect. So PS could actually also learn from those not using the phone, and then maybe reduce the use of the phone in that particular class. So if you could clarify whether the estimates are lower bound or upper bound in this case. Now, one thing that was also not clear to me was the treatment assignment. So you made mention that the treatment assignment is made at the department grade level, but it's not quite clear as to whether there's a variation within departments. And I'm asking this question in the sense that in one of your model, you also control for the department fixed effect. So if there's no variation at the department level, then I don't know how the fixed effect is being identified, because it's gonna absorb all the treatment variation in this case. So that's one point. And then related to what I said before, in terms of many classrooms sharing both like control group and the treatment group sharing the same classroom, whether you could also check for spillover effect, or you could do some sensitivity analysis, maybe dropping those groups, control group that share the same class with the treatment group, just to see whether the results are going to be robust also in this case. All right. Now, my last comment also has to do with your model. So also, it's similar to Zubaria. I think you're also using uncover specification where you do control for the baseline. But I think at some point of a paper, but correct me if I'm wrong, at some point of a paper, you made mention that the team was not able to implement the baseline survey. So the two data sets we are using actually expand during the period of the intervention. So my thought is, could the intervention have affected the lag GPA outcome that you are controlling in this case? And if you drop that particular outcome, do you see the same results also in this case? Yeah, so I'll stop here.
Thank you. Hugues?
Yes, okay. So first, I would like to say that I'm quite impressed that your paper have been covered in The Economist and The Times. So very impressive. So congrats for that. It's very cool. I guess I'm sharing quite of the same concerns that Nicolas and John already said, because first about external validity, you never discuss about external validity. So Nicolas mentioned that it can be like with a comparison with from like Western countries, but even in India, because you mentioned that you approach more than 52 institutions, but you only retain 10 institutions because of self-selection, and some of them were not really able to join the program, and so it's also this issue of willingness to join the program. So I guess it's also very important to discuss about that as the external validity, not only for comparison with Western country, but also in India itself. Plus, in terms of internal validity, I have also some concern related to some spillover effect that John mentions, due to the fact that, of course, if they are sharing same classrooms and if phone boxes are also available for students in the control group, you cannot avoid the fact that maybe teachers in the control group will maybe be incentivized to join the treatment, even if they are not part of the treatment itself. And you never discuss that, while it's so clear that maybe there are a lot of spillover effect here that can affect their internal validity. And I'm sure that maybe what you are showing is a lower bound, if it is the case. So having these discussions is very essential for trusting the findings. Okay, so maybe I will make this last point. At the part of the paper is based on a discussion using a subsample of students which reply to an online survey. But this online survey is also made under some basis that we don't know very well, because there are a lot of self-selection. You are just you send form to be filled by students, but they are never obliged to fill the form. So there is self-selection, plus it's also depending on your ability to match ID of students. And you are using this subsample of students like if it is a sample quite representative of your full sample, while you never check that, even with ballast control between control and treatment in the subsample, or even if the characteristic of this subsample are similar to the characteristic of your main sample. Maybe the reason why you don't find an effect that they are less disturbed by the treatment after the treatment. So maybe it's also good to have this kind of balanced check tables on the subsample, because it's part of your story and part of the paper is based on the subsample, and you have to be more careful about that, I guess. That's it.
Well, thank you very much for this thorough job of, and the comments. I found them as very useful. I hope the presenter do find them useful. I looked at the chat. There are a few questions, but I think they touch upon most of the discussion that's been done. So for Zubaria, for example, there's been mentioned in the chat questions about heterogeneity, which has been discussed, and policy implications of the results. And also, and for Pradeep, I think we already, the discussant has raised some comments about the fixed effects and the use and the compliance with the ban. And so I think perhaps I can give you back the floor for 2 minutes each to perhaps either ask for clarification if you want to respond back.
Yes. Only 2
okay?
minutes. Yeah, 2
2
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so I will respond to one point, and that will make clear on many things, and I will get back to my co-authors also. The thing is, students are not sharing their classrooms together, phone ban and phone non-ban. Actually, in the write-up we have said that the same classroom was being accessed by phone ban group and non-phone ban group. Let's say the class happened for phone ban group. So after they leave the classroom, then other students from non-phone ban group also entered. So they never sat together. So they were exclusively, the phone ban group were different and phone non-ban group were different. So there are no interaction that you said about spillover effect and all. So there is no question of that. So that should be clear, because they did not sit together. So the students to whom we treated, they were different than the students who were not treated, and they never met each other in the entire exercise that we did in the same classroom. So there is no question of spillover effect and all. But I have many other points. I don't know. I don't have much time. There is a question about the student fixed effect for teachers, college and all. We did not find much differences. I have shared the link for the full paper. It is in SSRN. So that would help you in understanding many things. But I sincerely thank the discussion for giving so many interesting points. Though one was that I explained, that is no spillover and all, that should be very clear. But the external validity, and there are some other points that I will go back to my co-authors also, and we will discuss, and definitely we will get back to you on this. So I will be in touch with them, and definitely I will be going to do that. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I like that. I get in touch with you, and I think this is all the spirit of this exercise. I hope you connect to each other. Yeah. Great. Yes. Thank you. So Zubaria, your last 2 minutes, and to conclude, thank you.
Thank you so very much for the comments and questions and everything. So basically, we did not do the heterogeneity yet, but definitely we are looking forward to do the same analysis for gender, for rural, urban, and for provinces as well. And even we can segregate age groups as well. So basically, we are actually looking forward for the heterogeneity. I think I have mentioned in the future direction in my paper that we are actually looking forward, and future direction could be based on heterogeneity and gender and everything. And especially, I'm very interested to see the difference between females and males. And secondly, yes, we can actually do the sensitivity analysis as well. Basically, we have chosen these 2 hours on the basis of prior literature as well as discussions. And I think I was reading somewhere that I mean 2 hours are better than 1 hour, because in case of 1 hour, definitely there will be more chances of non-compliance. But definitely I did not justify in the paper, so definitely I'll revise it and I'll justify in the paper as well. And we are actually very much looking forward for the follow-up survey. Could be like 6 months, and if it's definitely better if could be 8 months or 1 year. And yes, it was all day, 2 hours in 24 hours, and most of the respondents are not employed actually, because the age group was 18 to 24 years, and they have just graduated. I mean, I am just like I had mentioned, or I think I did not actually discuss during the presentation, that most of them are in their BS, and some of them have done their MPhil and MSc. Yes, I'll definitely revise and give the economic justification. I think I'm taking too much time. Thank you so very much, and definitely I'll definitely incorporate all of these comments. And thank you so very much for your comments, and thank you so very much for inviting me to present my work. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you all for being very diligent in time. I think it worked very well. We got lots of comments. I will share with you the comments also that we got in the chat, so that and if anyone who couldn't ask a question wants to follow up, feel free to get in touch with us. We connect you with the presenters. Anyone who wants to connect, do get in touch. I think this was a very successful presentation, amazing presentation, and great discussion. So I look forward to see you at the next seminar in January. So have a nice day and see you soon.